And good evening. We are live with the Power Hour. And here's my co-host, Nicole. Say hi, Nicole.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Nicole.
Glad you're all here. For those of you that are here, I'm here because I'm not all there.
Oh, my.
It's a fun place to be, let me tell you. And there's
Hi.
Melly. Hey, nice to see you there.
Awesome. Welcome, Monday.
Yes, well, and that's the whole idea. Starting on Monday is to start with some laughter and some positivity. And somebody's on Facebook that doesn't have an ID on there yet, but hopefully somebody will know who it is. So that'll be nice to see. So positivity, and that brings me to my first topic for the day.
Ooh.
Yes. I told Nicole I had a couple of things to talk about today, but I didn't share with her what they were. So actually, I got a few things now that I think about it.
Wow.
The number one thing I wanted to talk about was at the end of our last show, we got a text after we had actually ended the broadcast from Cheryl saying it's so nice to have positivity in a world that's so negative.
Yes.
And I thought, well, isn't that nice? It's nice to hear that. And I wanted to mention to all of us that as positive light bearers, our job is to give more positive energy out there in this world because it
That's
needs
right.
it, right?
Hi,
It's
Lisa.
Lisa. Whoa, Lisa, nice to have you here. Awesome. So, yes, it's, we are the light bearers and we need to understand that. We have to own that. And that's a lot of what our show is about every week, isn't it? Is helping everybody to understand that they are that divine spark of God and that we have the ability and the responsibility to make this world more heaven-like. On earth as it is in heaven, as the saying goes, right?
I know that saying.
Huh?
I know that saying.
You know that saying, yes. So that's our responsibility is to really own who we really are. Because when we do that, the world is a better place. Let me see if I can find that poster real quick, Nick. You want to talk for just a minute? Let me turn around and see if I can find the particular one I'm looking for.
Sure. I also wanted to bring up a. Go ahead. Go ahead, Bob. Let me direct the show here. We had talked last week about an assignment that we had for this week.
Oh, yes.
So and I already forgot what it was, but but I did remember that we had one. And so I hope some of the people that were here last week remember and have something to share on that regards. I know it was in regards to probably pushing through and finding the positive in a negative situation or a challenging situation. That's
very good. That's right.
Yes. Was that what we were talking about?
Yes.
But we already did.
When we could pause in a situation that maybe would have been negative before, but we could reframe it and turn it into the positive, right?
There we go. That's perfect.
Yep. And the saying is from Marianne Williamson, and it was about talking about who are we to play small?
Oh.
Right? And we do that when we kind of shrink and we don't let people see who we really are and feel that spirit that we really are. So when we try to hide and kind of play invisible, we're not doing the job that God would want us to do. God didn't raise no shrinking violets. Could you imagine God going, no, I don't want you to. Well, actually, God doesn't let us see him, does he?
Nobody puts baby in the corner.
That's right. That's right. So we are spiritual warriors. Every single person on this broadcast, all of you who watch on YouTube or on Facebook, we are not shrinking violets and we will not go gently into that night, right? Nope. We are spiritual warriors. And our role is to make our life as special a life as we can make it. And I try to do that every single day. I know for a fact that every single day I make a difference in somebody's life. And that's a really cool feeling. And I just got a reminder from Facebook that the Power Hour has begun. Isn't that nice?
Your phone's a little slow, huh?
It's just something from Facebook that just popped up on my screen over there. Yes. So Lisa is a dear friend of ours who we have known for a number of years.
Long time.
Who, yes, has made just such an amazing transformation of her life. And she is such an example of what happens when you recognize who you really are instead of that slug on the side of the road that we think we are, right? It's like a friend of ours used to always say that, you know, when he's in his bad spots, he thinks of himself as a turd with eyeballs. In reality, wow. Yeah. And Lisa has such a beautiful smile, and she's such a beautiful woman. And she was through the hardest of hard times. And as I'm sure,
beautiful laugh.
Oh God, yes. She can fill up a room with her laughter, right? And if you ever see her on Facebook, you'll see that she posts selfies almost every day, and they're always with a smile and laughter and happiness. And as I say on our program all the time, happiness is not a result of what's going on in your life. It's what's going on in you. So even in the worst of times, I think I told that story. I did tell that story, but I'll tell it again, about being at a friend's memorial service, and they had a table and they had all the pictures of her up on the table. And I was sitting next to a young lady, as I tend to manage to have happen. And I turned to her and I said, you know, I understand having the picture up there. And I know that when it's my turn, I know there'll be a picture up there. And while I understand that people do it, I hope nobody throws rocks. And she started laughing and she goes, oh my God, I'm laughing at a memorial service.
We're going to throw tomatoes.
Yeah. And that's really the point, is that we, you know, no matter what our situation is, I know there's the other Melinda. How about that? We've got the Melindas, the dueling Melindas. No matter what the situation is, we can find humor, because humor is what helps us get through everything. I feel so bad for humorless people. It's got to be an awful world to live in. And as we say so often, our troubles, we think, are mostly of our own making. So no matter what goes on during the day or weeks or months, how we respond to those things is what really makes the difference. Life's going to do what it's going to do. We're going to have up times, we're going to have down times. That's just the way life goes. But how we respond is what really makes the big difference, right? So that's just a little bit of, what we started off with about the positivity in a negative world. It's a dual polarity world. There's positive and negative, just like there's positive and negative in our own energy circuits in our body. It's like there's a positive and negative to almost everything, right? But we want to grab hold of that positive, because that positive is the same energy that is God. And so,
without the negative, we wouldn't know the positive.
Well, that's exactly right. That's a great point. An excellent point.
Without the darkness, we wouldn't see light.
Exactly. And without hard times, we would never grow. We would just stay where we're at, right? The hard times are what make us, become more polished. It's like that old thing about how do you make a diamond, right? It's coal with a lot of pressure applied. And that's kind of like us, right? So then the second thing I wanted to mention was that I got to have dinner with my wife and my daughter and my son-in-law the other day. And it was the result of a gift card I received for spreading positivity and happiness throughout my store that I work at. And it was just it was a very interesting experience. It was my boss's boss's boss that gave me this gift card, right? Quite way up in the corporate chain. But it just reminded me that we really do get paid for being positive. There is you get paid in so many ways. And Melly says, thanks for the invite. Hey, laugh out loud.
It wasn't a big gift card. But it was a big gift card.
Yeah, it was, huh? Yeah, it
It
turned
was
out very
great.
special indeed.
Yeah.
But we had a wonderful time. We went to the Olive Garden, and being able to spend time with my daughter and son-in-law is always a special event. And,
For us too.
Kate was there too, and we all just had a wonderful evening. And so that's the benefits of being positive at work and making a difference where I work, right? We all can make a difference if we choose to. And we can either be a wonderful role model or what else, Nick?
A horrible example.
Yeah, right. Which one do you want to be? For me, I want to be a positive role model. It's more
Depends
fun.
on what day.
Well, that's true.
I'm just
What
kidding.
minute,
I'm
right?
just kidding.
All right. So that was the second nice little moment that we had, was having a nice dinner on the company. Pretty special. Yeah. And then the third thing I wanted to mention was, for those of you who watch Netflix, there's a movie that I highly recommend everybody watch, and it's called 7 Seconds. It is a mini series. I don't even know how many episodes there is. I'm on the 10th one now, and I think it might be ending, but I'm not even sure of that yet. But the cast is awesome. The script is incredible, and the storylines are just amazing.
You said 7 seconds.
7 seconds. Yeah.
All right. I got it.
Yeah.
Note.
Yeah. It's really good. And I'm looking for book reports next week. I'd love to hear what people think of the movie.
I don't like book reports anymore.
Hey.
Just kidding. Positivity.
So was the It's Lisa, was that in response to the first one that didn't show a name? I think it was, wasn't it?
Yes.
Lisa just moved to Imperial Beach. Did you know that?
I did. I have her on my Facebook too. Yes.
Yeah. And I hope to finish the Jeff Dahmer first. Yeah, this is a little different than Jeffrey Dahmer.
Scary.
It's interesting that you're watching Jeffrey Dahmer. I think I've mentioned on this broadcast before, but not certain, that my old mentor, George, and I were doing a workshop one weekend at his place that he had in Murrieta. And it was the day after they had found Jeffrey Dahmer and all the body parts that they found that he had in barrels and everywhere else in his home. And as we're getting ready to start, my dog eats my book reports. Love it. It was the day after they discovered Jeffrey Dahmer, and as was normally the case at our seminars, it was all women that were in the audience, and they were talking about how horrible it was that a man would do something like that. And George's response to them was, look, we all have minds, and left unguarded, we're capable of that and worse.
Yes.
So, it again shows the mind is the beast, and we must give it the energy necessary. You have to give it more energy than you gave to train your dog, Cheryl.
Yeah. They don't have a dog.
There you go, right? So we have to train the mind. The mind must become our friend. If you don't do that, life is really hard. And I know, because my life was really hard. And Cheryl says, yep.
Oops.
Yeah. So that was the second thing, was the third thing was the 7 seconds. It's a very interesting storyline. I won't give you any of it because I don't want to ruin it for you. But I do highly encourage everybody here to watch it. It's got a lot of social significance to it.
Huh.
Yeah. And then what was another one I had? I know there's another one. It'll come to me, I'm sure. So what about you, Nicole? You got anything for us today?
I thought you had it covered.
Well, I'm into 15 minutes. That's not bad.
Well, I wanted to go back into where we had practiced the pause. you know.
Ah, yes.
And where it maybe could have escalated, but because I practiced the pause, it changed. So I would like to find out from our audience, where if they had, let's put it in the chat there and let's discuss it. I
And it's
can't really think of an incident where to pause. There's been a few actually, more about like telling the husband where something is and no, it's not there. And I just wait and pause instead of going, oh, I'll get it. Right?
Yep.
So I
Yep.
practiced the pause and I
Very
said,
good.
well, it was there. And then quiet, don't do anything, don't move. And sure enough, he found it.
Well, and your point is a good one, and it really came. Where all that started last week was where I had a boss that was kind of giving me some unnecessary grief, right? And my natural reaction is to recoil and react because I don't take direction well and I don't take authority very well, right? Go figure. But so that's where that all started, and what I came to realize today more than any other day was that once again, it wasn't about him. It was about me.
Yeah.
That I've been pushing myself too hard. In fact, I had 2 workers come up to me yesterday and say, Dan, could you slow it down a little bit? You're making us all look bad. And and my first thought was, well, you guys could speed up a little bit, right? But again, but what I also noticed from all of that was that come around 6 or 7 hours into the day, I was wiped out. So I don't have that same stamina I used to where I could run like that all day long and all night long and not get tired. Now I get tired. So I got to spread it out a little better, right?
Yeah.
And that's becoming more self-aware. And we all can improve, right? None of us got this whole thing mastered. And if we understand that, then we can start practicing that forgiveness, which is one of the things you'll see about 7 seconds that is brought up quite a bit about how we don't forgive ourselves.
Oh.
We hold on and we hold on. And, it's like a dog with a bone, right? We'll make a mistake and we'll just gnarl on that thing for the whole week. I made a mistake yesterday on a sale. And for about 3 or 4 different times, I would say something to myself about it. And finally I said, Dan, stop. In fact, I said, mind, stop. It's okay. And we can't change it anyway. And just being able to remember that being human means we make mistakes. It's the grand design. It's what we have to do to be able to really grow. Like Nicole was saying, it's that if we don't have those hard times, we won't know the good times. And you're awfully dark on your screen there, Nick.
I'm getting light on. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I know.
Yeah, no, you're keeping us in the dark. We get it.
It's getting darker earlier.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I had to turn lights on to start the program tonight. Yeah. So, once again, I get to practice what I preach, and that is to, forgive myself, which is what I suggest to all of us here is that, it's like my dear friend that has on her coffee table now that saying the beatings will continue until your attitude improves. Lisa, you know who that is. Yes, the beatings continue until we learn that we are exactly the way God wanted us to be. If he wanted us to be different, we'd be different. So let's practice recognize. There you go. Hey, she's here.
It's on Alexa. Sorry.
Now let's practice being that, that child of God that has that wide-eyed innocence and that joy for life and just be that sunlight of the Spirit that we have all heard about and know is true. And here we have something from Kimberlyn. It looks like a good response. I had a pause moment this week. There was a situation at work where a client got really upset about something my company had no control over. Instead of arguing with the client, I decided to pause and think of a way that could benefit the both of us. I got my manager involved, and she was able to find a resolution for both the client and for our company. Way to go, Kimberlyn. That's a great example. Exactly right. You know, it's did I share that story about the dear old lady that was in a wheelchair in Best Buy when I walked in one day?
Yes.
I did, didn't I?
Yeah.
I remind myself, who is this?
Lisa.
That's Lisa. Okay. I remind myself often that no response is a response. Perfect. You know, it kind of goes back to that saying also about if you don't give it any energy, it won't grow, right? So, yes, no response is a response. And sometimes just not responding gives them and you that moment to think and come up with a positive response and a solution, right? I love one of the things I'm happy about with myself that I feel is a good trait is that I do my best to be a problem solver. I don't like to just sit in problems, right? Let me find a solution for it. And most of the time it works, which is always a good thing. Yes. So Lisa does the no response is a response. That's excellent. And Kimberlyn, that is an awesome example of what we're talking about here about how do we get to the positive, right? There's a solution to every situation, or at least most situations, right? Sometimes there's just not a darn thing you can do about it. But sometimes, just like the dear old lady in the wheelchair who was just bitterly unhappy, I could do just a couple of simple steps with her and laugh and smile and try to be helpful, and it changed her day somewhat.
Oh,
And
here we
once
go.
I paused and didn't quit my job. I have a very terrible supervisor, and if I don't pause, I'll lose my cool.
You get to practice the pause.
Get to practice the pause and remember that she's human and you have no idea what's going on in her life.
Nor do you have control of what she does.
No. All you have control over is what you do
Mm-hmm.
and how you think and how you feel, right? And most of us don't want to exercise that responsibility. And God knows I've been there myself. I understand that one totally about how, you just like to give them the middle finger and walk away, right? Yeah. But it never works,
You're
it never
number
works.
one.
Yeah, number one. You're number one. You're number one. Oh, goodness. How about anybody else? Does anyone else have anything?
Here we go.
Yeah,
I get that.
it's so hard. I leave work drained. Yes, I understand. So, what can you do? I mentioned to Garrett, my son-in-law, one day, he was talking about how his boss never gives him compliments. This was in one of his jobs, right? I said, "Do you ever give your boss compliments?" "Well, no. He might think I'm a suck up." I said, "Well, if you're trying to suck up, he'll probably feel like it's a suck up. But if you say it and you mean it, he'll get it that you say it and you mean it." So maybe sometimes the way you change people around is just by how we change ourselves. Not always. Sometimes they're just bitter and there's not much you can do about it. But I don't believe in quitting trying. I just don't give up. So maybe just a kind word to her or something might help. Never know. Right? So what else
Yeah.
do we got? Huh?
Well, what I was talking about with my husband today and a friend of ours is that old record player. You're talking about that mind that, beats you up. It's also that, I've talked about it here before, that old record player that, we, I'm not going to say my age, but had many years to hear that record player. And it wasn't until I decided that was a lie. That record player was
Old
a lie.
scripts that you
Yeah.
have about yourself, old stories.
Mhm. Not
Uh-huh.
good enough, not pretty enough, not whatever.
Right. Right.
And it's not until I recognized that as a lie and that record needed a skip in it, or maybe just to be thrown across the room at the window
Yeah.
and broken.
Yes.
But it's a practice of staying in that positive rather than that old record player, right?
Yes.
Sometimes it'll still come up for me and I can say, oh, thank you for your input. That's a lie. And
Yes.
move on,
Yeah.
right? And that's a real good tool that I use. And I was talking about that with somebody today, and he's fairly young, but still has the same kind of record player that I do. I'm not enough, right? Basically, in a nutshell, pretty enough, funny enough, you know, crazy enough. So, it really takes a moment of practice, right? Of recognizing it and discarding it because it's not true. I don't want to live in that anymore. And I think all of us have that old record player that doesn't belong anymore, and tuning it out, right? I
Yes.
see a little tuning there, and tuning it out and knowing different. That's a lie. Thank you for your input. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
And
and you're right. It's about consciousness, isn't it? It's about raising your consciousness, being aware of what your mind is feeding you, and taking that moment to go, wait a minute, that one doesn't fit. No, mind, we don't do that one. Okay. The
yes.
real truth is, I am good enough. I am, in your case, pretty enough. Yeah.
What are we doing? I just talked
Yes,
about that
exactly.
record player.
And and you're absolutely right. The more you cancel those things, then what starts to happen is you can actually have fun with those old scripts, right? It's like my favorite thing is to tell people about how I must have really pissed God off because he gave me nothing, right? I can't dance, I can't sing, I can't do anything like that, right? And that they used to pick white women before me on baseball teams, right? Because I was so unathletic. My mom could swim like a swan, and me, boat anchor, just right down to the bottom, no matter how hard I try. But when I was that guy that would beat myself up, the beatings, I would take all of those, what I would look at and say, hey, I got nothing. And I would take that to heart, that I have nothing. I have nothing to give. I have nothing that, I am or anything like that. And now that I don't do that anymore, I don't beat myself up, and I get to look at those things and make joy from them all. Right. I mean, I really, and that's one of the things that, like what you're talking about, Nicole, with, the stories, right. And the I'm less than, and I'm not as good as them, and I'm not this and I'm not that, rather than saying I am this and I am that, right? The thing that I'm most grateful for that God gave me was people skills, and I get to use them every single day, and it's so much fun, right? It's part of what makes my day that enjoyable. So you're absolutely right about the stories, and we have to be conscious, and we have to change those stories to the positive. It's like, could you imagine watching a movie that was just made up of all the negative crap that our mind had had? Who would want to see that movie?
No.
Oof. So we're all worth more than what our minds say. Absolutely. But who has control over the mind? The
We
soul.
do.
The
Oh, the
soul,
soul. Yeah.
right? Yeah. And it really is our responsibility to train our mind. God gave us the mind to be our servant, to help us get through this life, to protect us from danger, and to give us the memories and thoughts that we need to get through our day. The
Yes.
reality is we don't need it that often. We don't need it to do our thinking for us. If we work from our higher mind, we simply access that memory when we need it. It's like one of the tips I give people all the time when they're having a hard time remembering something. They'll go, oh, I can't remember that. I'll say, well, just say it'll come to me. And then within a matter of seconds, it comes to you. It's just directing the mind to give me that memory that I'm looking for. So that's one of the tips, right? Is instead of, oh, I don't know, I can't remember, just say, okay, I'll remember it in a minute. It'll come to me. And that's telling my, okay, it's like telling that computer, I'm looking for this. And then it comes up with a whole list of things, right? So, yeah, I think that's pretty cool stuff. And these stories, okay, I'm going to ask everybody in the audience here, give me the worst story that you have about yourself.
Ooh. That's pretty personal.
Well, maybe. But they don't have to put it down if they don't want, right?
The worst story I have about myself, meaning the self-talk.
Yeah.
The worst one I have.
Or had.
Thank you. Because, it's always, I said it already, not pretty enough, not skinny enough, not funny enough, not, one of my greatest mentors says I have it down in my molecular, in my molecular structure. So it's in every fiber of me that I'm not worthy. And that's what I need to go to God with.
Yeah.
Because I'm not, it's not going to come from me, right? That's got to be removed from God, in our opinion. Because it's not something I can access to get rid of.
Yep.
So that's.
But you can, right?
Right. Through something greater, right? I go to God with it, and I act as if, and I shut down the feelings of, even when I'm not here thinking that I'm not worthy, right? I think I'm worthy, but everything in my makeup is telling the universe, oh no, it's okay, I'm not worthy. So
I like that prayer where you ask God to give you everything he has in store for you, and that if the person next to you doesn't want yours, you'll take theirs too.
I'm in.
Give me all you want, right?
Coach, put me in.
The worst story I have about myself is when I told myself I don't deserve to live anymore. Yeah. And there's that forgiveness thing we talk about, right? What was it that I did that was so bad that I deserved to keep punishing myself for, right? And for me, part of that was the realization that I didn't have a forgiving God. At least in my thinking, he wasn't forgiving, and nobody would forgive anybody that did what I did, right? Like we're so terminally unique.
I'm glad you don't believe that story, Millie.
Yeah, right.
Beautiful soul.
Yes. Well, and I know this was quite some time in the past, and thank you for sharing that, Melinda. And that's one of the things we talk about on this Power Hour every week, is that you don't know who might be watching one of the videos on YouTube or on Facebook, and you don't know who might be needing to hear exactly what you're talking about tonight, right? So, there you go. I don't believe it one bit anymore.
Good.
Exactly right. Melinda and Luke have two beautiful children. They have just an amazing family unit there where they all live, and there's just so much love in that family, which is, Nicole had a lot to do with that as well. Here's another one. Thank you, guys. I appreciate the honesty and the vulnerability.
Yeah,
I was a bad mom because my youngest son kept getting in trouble. Yes, right. It was all your fault, Cheryl. No, not at all. And I know you don't believe that anymore either, right? Yeah. And, it's amazing the things we'll take responsibility for that really aren't our responsibility. And getting clarity about that kind of helps us keep the ship going in the direction we want it to go in, right? The fact of the matter is, I look at Cheryl as being one of the, now I know better. Yeah. I look at Cheryl as being an incredible mother who showed incredible patience and tenacity with her son and her now daughter-in-law, right? And just kept hold of the vision that she had for them, which is really what you did for your youngest son too. And he's come around, right? you know, it's we as parents, we don't want our children to suffer, and I think that's just natural. And so we try to do everything we can to make their life better for them and hope that they don't hurt. But but just like what we've talked about here a number of times today, it's that pain that makes us grow. So, you know, I don't want anyone to physically get hurt if we can help it. And I really don't like to see anyone go through hard times, but I can also be compassionate for them and recognize that this is what God wanted them to go through to help them to grow. So I don't know what God's story is for somebody else. I don't know what God's story is for me. So why in the world would I get all wrapped up into how I think it ought to be? Because I don't know. God does. But what I know is that whatever seems bad today will feel different tomorrow or the next day. Yeah, somewhere around there, right? But this is temporary. And so is the good times. Neither one's going to last forever, just like we're not going to last forever. So we might as well enjoy the journey while we're taking it, right? And
Wax museum. Wax museum.
Wax museum. So yeah, so let's start this week off with a lot of positivity. I love the stories that we've had about pausing this week. That's very, very nice to read and hear. And I love the vulnerability with the worst story about myself from Melinda and Cheryl, and the fact that we got past those. And let's face it, if you two hadn't gotten through those stories and recognized that they weren't true, you wouldn't be who you are today, right? You would still be all wrapped up in the woe is me. You know, I'm a bad mother. I'm a bad person. I'm a bad whatever. I can't play baseball. I can't sing. I can't swim.
I can, just not so great.
Oh God. You know, I swear to God, I'm like a boat anchor when I'm in the water, you know, and I love the water. I like to go to the ocean. I like to do all those things, but God, swimming is just so hard for me. I don't know what it is. Maybe I should have taken lessons, but oh well. There's that, right? But you could.
You
I still could. Right?
Yes, still can. You're not underground.
Not yet.
I haven't seen Jose yet. I wonder if he's
haven't. Well, he's working 2 jobs, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's get real. Yeah.
Lisa, what was the worst story you ever had about yourself?
Oh, that record. What did that?
Yeah. Oh, and I'm going to share. While we're waiting for Lisa to comment on that, I'm going to show people so that it's on our video. So if you ever want to reach us, you'll know how to reach us. There's the Mind Whispering, our group page, and there is the Mind Whispering YouTube channel. You can also find the YouTube channel by going to Mind Whispering the Whisper Way. You'll find it that way as well. And there's our website, justwhisper.net. And there's my email address. You can always email me with questions. And there's my phone number. You're all welcome to call me anytime you want. All right.
We have your social and bank account as well?
Yeah, you got those on the next slides. They'll be popping up here in just a minute.
We'll keep an eye out.
And
let us help you. Yes.
Man, Melly's got a few hashtags here. Positive Power Hour. Hashtag you don't have to beat yourself down. Hashtags things get better.
Yes.
And hashtag let us help you. Yes. You know, that's a really interesting point you make, Melinda, because what happens with most of us is that we don't want to tell anybody about that darkness inside ourselves because we're too ashamed of it. And we're supposed to fix it ourselves, don't you know? What BS that was, huh? Yeah, it doesn't work. And besides that, that's that consciousness of struggle, right? We want to have a consciousness of ease. Everything is easy, right? And so,
Easy, abundant,
yes, all the
loving.
positive attributes
Yes.
of God, right?
Yes.
Beautiful, kind, gentle, right? And what I've started doing at work is I've been mentioning to people that I do a positive power hour, and I can't tell you how many people go, "Oh, I want to watch that," right? And I go, "Okay, so I'm going to have to get my business cards made so I can hand them out to people when I'm talking to them about, because they all feel the same way Cheryl did when she mentioned it last week about too much negativity in the world. So it's our job to expand the positivity, and we will do that. And I am doing it every day. I know everybody on our call tonight is doing it every day, and it's going to just keep getting better. And one more thought I have is about Richard and his baseball tournaments. He's still out there playing, isn't he?
Kicking butt.
Wow, kid is such a baseball player. It's amazing.
And the family that supports them, I just love it. I wasn't able to get out there with them this weekend, but Cheryl's out there. I was wearing my shirt to support him, and it's just really great to see it.
Champs, baby.
Yeah, he's got a belt.
How about that, huh?
Ring.
Yeah, that's a really good point you make, Nicole. I remember when I would play, I only played Little League 1 year, and I went to every single game and only played one out in a game the entire year. And my parents never came to a game. Now, truth be told, my dad worked a lot, and I had, 8 brothers and sisters. So mom didn't have a lot of time either, right? But how encouraging it is for Richard to have so much family support at the games. I know that's got to make a big difference for him. So, I've only gone to a few games. I know I should be a better, family member and attend more, but it would also help if I knew about them.
They're every weekend. So,
I work weekends.
Yeah. And when he plays closer, it's a little easier, but yeah, it's just beautiful to watch.
Good. So Melinda, your assignment for this next week is to turn your boss around.
Oh.
Yeah. And so, this little group of people I know, they have this thing where if you have somebody you're having a problem with, they make you pray for them for 2 weeks.
Or until it goes away.
Until it goes away. Yeah. And I try. You remember what trying is like, right? Yeah, there's that word, right?
Oh, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Oh, I try. Trying is like being a little bit pregnant. Can't be a little bit.
It's a failure word.
Yes. Yes. Oops. Great response. Great response. So,
love you.
Yeah. And so for everybody, enjoy the week. All right. Have fun.
Yes.
For 30 years, I've been telling my wife every morning, have fun today. And she has her work cut out for her. I'm sure you mean, right?
Well, and I make it a point every time that I go out to engage, right? And it's not just, it's about eye contact and saying hello.
Yes.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Hi, how are you?
Yep.
And it's just about, it's sometimes you get the weird looks, and that's okay. It's not about that.
Right.
It's more about, good morning. And people are really surprised. It's kind of interesting to watch.
Well, especially now, kind of like what Cheryl was talking about last week about the negativity out there in the world, right? So if you can be that shining beacon, you might be surprised. In fact, I know you'll be surprised at just how quickly you can change somebody's day just by being that spark of light, right? And you never know what kind of change that might make for them and for you. Sometimes it isn't about what I get to receive from somebody else. It's more about what I got from giving. And that's really one of the secrets of life that I have found, is that it isn't in what I get from life. It's what I give to it.
Yes.
So, I know everybody on this call absolutely understands this and practices it every single moment of the day. Yeah, right.
I don't know what you're going to say, but.
But wow, she has her work cut out for her. There was the other one. Yeah, I meant out, not off. But it's up to us. All right. It's up to us to have that positive outlook on life. It's not going to be what happens in our day. If it is, if it was really about what was going on in our day, we'd be just so up and down and up and down and up and down with positivity and negativity and it would just be exhausting, wouldn't it?
Yes.
It takes a lot less energy just to be up. And I know I've told that story about having manic depression, and that all I ever had was the positive side. I really don't know what severe depression's like. I probably cause it a lot, but I've never really had it, right? But what I got to realize from, and maybe I'll tell that whole story again some other time for those of you that haven't heard it, but I got to learn from a psychiatrist how important the experience of a manic episode was if I were to take the positive parts out and leave all that negative stuff, because there's a lot of negativity involved in depression. I mean, it's just that negative thought just goes on and on and on. But what I meant to say was a lot of negativity in a manic episode, because manic people tend to act out in very inappropriate ways. They tend to spend a lot of money. They tend to do a lot of wild behavior. They get sexually, what's the word I want?
Promiscuous.
Huh?
Promiscuous.
Yeah, there's a good one. And, just create a lot of havoc. And then the crash comes and there's all that guilt and shame and blame. And then the family is all wondering, what the hell, what happened to you? And he's laughing a little bit this week. We better watch him, so you can't live life in a fishbowl. But thanks to that psychiatrist, I got to understand that if I wanted to, instead of trying to forget all the manic experience, glean the positive out of it, and that I could live in a much higher level of energy without being, overboard, right? So that's really true for all of us in everyday life. If we'll glean the positive out of it, not get all wrapped up. What was that? Somebody used to come to meetings I used to go to would say that he doesn't regret the past, but he doesn't stare at it either. And that's a great saying, right?
Yes.
So, it's like, yeah, okay, those things happen, but move on. Life goes on. So for now, let life go on. Let everybody have a really positive week. And I look forward to seeing everybody again next Monday. Thank you for joining us for the Power Hour, and we'll see you next time. Take care, guys. Bye.